Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Hello there, and you're all very, very welcome to the very first Student Enterprise live broadcast for the academic year 2020-21. My name is Noel Davidson, and I'm your host this evening, and you're all very, very welcome, and really looking forward to this evening's broadcast. Hopefully, most of you as students have settled back into school by now. I know it's a whole different setup for you guys and your teachers, and it's a really big challenge for all your schools. There's no doubt that this year will be a challenging one for those of you who are doing mini company. So here at the Student Enterprise Programme, we want to provide you guys with as much support as possible to make this a good year for all our budding entrepreneurs and your teachers. So that's why we're introducing this series of live broadcasts to cover the most important topics for you guys with regards to running your mini companies this year, and to give you the opportunity to ask our guest speakers some questions. So just a few quick reminders before we start. For any teachers watching, there is a special teachers explanatory video available now on the Student Enterprise Programme homepage, so studententerprise.ie. And that clearly explains the approach that we are taking in delivering our programme into the schools this year amid all the COVID-19 uncertainty. So this is well worth a watch, and you'll find that on the website. Later on, I'll have a little ticker popping up on the bottom of the screen to remind you on the website, and all the students as well. We have a fantastic new range of student and teacher resources available on the website to help you deliver the programme this year. All new teacher and student booklets are written by a former teacher and enterprise education expert, Caroline McHale, and are now up online. And Caroline, I think, actually is here. Caroline, there's Caroline there.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Caroline, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Noel, and looking forward to this evening.
Listen, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So you're going to join us later on in the chat and tell us a little bit more about some of the new resources. And it's a good time to say that if anyone has any questions for our guests tonight, send us in via YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching, and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. So Caroline, I'm going to put you back into the green room and keep an eye on the questions, and we'll be chatting later on.
Okay, bye.
I'll see you soon. Okay. So if we don't get around to your questions, please remember that the live chat facility is available on our website, studententerprise.ie, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday to Friday for the whole month of September. So if you need anything asked and answered, that's the place to go. So now with that all out of the way, let's get down to tonight's broadcast and tonight's show. The theme of this, our first ever live webinar, is what does it take to be an entrepreneur? And that's exactly what all our students will be doing this year, being an actual entrepreneur, setting up and running your own businesses. You guys will be doing exactly what a real business person does, from coming up with your business idea to promoting it, selling it, and hopefully bringing in some cash. But what exactly does that mean? And what does it take to become an entrepreneur? What skill sets do you need? What mindsets must you have? And how can you learn from other successful entrepreneurs before you start off on your journey? So to help answer some of those questions, we have a really, really special guest on tonight's show on the very first live webinar. And that's Martin O'Reilly from Output Sports. Martin is in the green room. I'm just going to bring him in here. Martin, how are you?
How are you doing, Noel? Delighted to be chatting to you this evening. Really great program that you're starting as well.
Thanks for joining us in. So Output Sports, it's a really new, very, very exciting business that has come out of University College. So there are 3 founders, I think. They're all young people, just like the people that are watching out there at the moment and listening in, who had a really good idea and made their dream a reality. So really warm welcome to you, Martin, and we're going to have a little wee chat. So you might tell us a little bit about what the product is and what does it do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we always call output sports the Swiss Army knife for sports performance. So what we've developed is a tool that using just a single little matchbox size sensor can test and track all of the components of someone's fitness. So whether that's how strong they are or how powerful they are, or maybe completely different side of things, how flexible or how well they can balance. And all of that data gives you a picture of an athlete in terms of how you can then optimize their performance to become better at their chosen sport and progress from a young age through to professional sport optimally, was trying to avoid the risk of injury. So um, basically, the software is a mobile app that pairs up to the sensor, and then as you exercise, say as you do your squats or your bench press, you get feedback, and that feedback helps you guide how to optimally progress towards your training goal. And at the moment, we sell this to sports practitioners who work at the pro level, right down to the school level or the everyday clinic. So it's anyone who's a sports scientist, physiotherapist, or strength conditioning coach. And the system is portable, can work anywhere in the year in the world, and basically you can access the data and get the insights you need quickly and effectively replacing what used to be a laboratory load of kit with one single device. And as you can see here, we work with universities, pro sports teams, schools, and even individual practitioners as well.
There's fantastic clients there. I'm just looking at some of them there. Leinster Rugby and universities, and like, it's fantastic. How did you get an approach into some of those businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a totally different journey with each of them. One of the really interesting things to get us started was that we initially were a team of researchers in UCD, and our publications in academic journals were read by practitioners in clubs like Leinster and in various football teams around the world. And they actually reached out to us initially. This is prior to us having anything commercially created, but solely based on our research. And it actually gave us a real boost to consider commercialization and go after building a client base like them. So some of it was incoming, and then more often than not, it's outgoing. And we do digital marketing, we work with partners, and we always try and build our profile and open up doors with the clients we already work with as well.
So talk to us about the background to your company. How did you guys meet, and what's your own backgrounds and where the idea came about?
Yeah, absolutely. No. So the three co-founders of the company are all former UCD students. So myself and Dara both did our PhDs here between 2013 and 2017. And actually, while I was doing that, I met our third co-founder, Julian, completely separately. We were in the handball club together here, and he was a theoretical physicist who was a really great programmer. I was doing my machine learning algorithms for sports science, and Dara is a sports physiotherapist who was bringing this clinical knowledge. And between us, we really realized we could kind of go after this commercial opportunity of creating this Swiss Army knife tool for sports practitioners. But even prior to that, about 4 years of work had gone into it between myself and Dara, and even my final year project in university. So for me, the kind of spark was when I was working in a local wearable sensors company. I was creating kind of various medical applications, but I was interested in the gym and how I could get better in the gym for my sport. And at the time, the early Fitbit models were out, and there was a couple of other wearables. But there was nothing for the gym. There was nothing for weightlifting and nothing for strength training. And I just wanted to go after that gap. And then through the years, through working with collaborators and other team members, we kind of refined that and actually found the gap and the opportunity that was right to go after with our combination of expertise. So really, it's been a journey since 2012 through to launching just this February in 2020. So it's a very long one of development. And more recently commercialization as well.
So where did the interest for working for yourself come from? Were there any family members that were entrepreneurial or worked for themselves?
Yeah, so in my family, there's no one that's an entrepreneur, but my dad is actually a professor of physics, and throughout his life, he's had many kind of impactful pieces of research that created something new or impactful in his field. So while he didn't commercialize those things, they would have fed into the commercializations of many impactful technologies, including like the lasers that enable CD players and DVDs. So some really interesting stuff. So having dad do that kind of gave me the belief that if I pursue my passions and interests, that I can make an impact too. And even in a world with so many technologies, there is space to create new ones. And that was definitely a big impact. And then my mum actually is an English teacher. So on a totally different side, she kind of taught me the importance of communication and how that's a huge part of growing your business and venture as well. So yeah, for me, there was no requirement to work for myself. It was just a natural progression. We found this gap, wanted to create a wearable for strength conditioning, and then just pursued it. and it just naturally arose that the right direction for it was to work for yourself and build a team around it, which is a really satisfying journey, particularly because you learn so much and you get exposure to so many things at a young age that you otherwise might not get for years and years.
Yeah, and when you're talking about being a successful entrepreneur, you need certain qualities and skill. So some you're born with and some you develop along the way. You and I met on the Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur competition, and you did really well in that. But I remember you demonstrating the app and the I described the little unit, but you wore it. I remember you jumped about 4 or 5 feet in the air from a standing jump, and then you were able to show the data on the phone. So how did you develop the idea and the qualities to become entrepreneurial?
Yeah, well, I think with regards to the skill set and the kind of idea of developing the skills, I fully believe that you can develop any skills, and that the skills that I might have been perceived to naturally have would just be things that I exposed myself to at a younger age. So maybe at a young age, my kind of natural skill set would have appeared to be like problem solving and maths and anything kind of analytical. I was really into science and just how the world worked and how I could make stuff effectively. And then the other thing that I had naturally, which is really fed into development of sports, was just a huge passion for sport. So I played about 10 or 11 different sports growing up, but at the same time loved problem solving. So really, I kind of see the development from my own personal journey, developing output sports. It's just been continuously combining problem solving and maths with my passion for sport and seeing what I can do with that. Then as I've grown up and as our team has developed, you do learn a hell of a lot of new skills. And for me, the ones that came later in life, because I guess I got exposed to doing them later, were more around kind of people skills. So teamwork, leadership where required. Presenting was something that I absolutely used to hate and was petrified of, and had to learn how to do and get better and better at it. And then stuff that might sound a bit more boring, but that is very more important, like project management as well. So the way I've always perceived the learning side of it is that you have to kind of surround yourself with experts that can mentor you, but then also that you kind of have to dive in and take their mentorship, but ultimately kind of use tasks and self-drive your learning to fill the gaps that are needed to develop your solution to the problem that you've identified.
That's fantastic. And I just want to remind, we actually are going live at the moment on YouTube and on Facebook on the Student Enterprise Program pages. And if you do have any questions, I can see a few comments starting to pop up here. But if you have any questions for Martin or Caroline when she pops on later on, please don't be afraid to put them in, and we'll be able to put them to Martin and Caroline live and direct. So one of the things, Martin, that we have to acknowledge and not ignore is COVID and the whole area at the moment, where businesses are having to adapt their business models in order to survive. So have you any examples of how you guys have come across unexpected obstacles along the way and how you've overcome these, both in the past and at the moment in the COVID era?
Yeah, no, I think the best example for us is the COVID era. So we closed our seed investment round in the company in February, February the 4th this year. We actually launched our first product at the exact same time. And initially, we'd spent 2 years of building prototypes and testing them in gym environments, be that in pro sport, clinics, high schools, or universities. And then within 6 weeks of us launching, all of these environments internationally started to close their doors for a period of time. So it was a real, a real shake to the company, and we had to adapt and we had to listen to the end users and make sure that we created a viable solution for the current circumstances that they could find themselves in with COVID-19. So we did lots of things, but one of the main things we adapted to was empowering remote coaching and training for athletes around the world. So our solution was portable and practical, and I'm glad it was, because it meant that we were able to make that adaptation quicker and more effectively. So we didn't go in blind. We had many end users that we developed the initial technology with, that we reached back out to and asked what were their current stressors and how could we add value to improving their athletes' performance when they were in their unique challenge of doing this outside of their usual environment. And ultimately, we added lots of new features to the technology that allowed the coach to view the athlete's testing and tracking, and making the testing and tracking easy enough for an athlete who's a non-expert in sports science to do the testing themselves, and the coach to then go, the data to then go through to the coach. So that was a big thing. But the thing that you mentioned at the start here is not just about creating the technology, it's about getting the word out there. So one of the other big adaptations we made is we created a competition called the Output Combine. And if you follow American sports, they run these big testing days where it's how fast you can run, how high you can jump, all these various facets of fitness that are done on a big testing day in a stadium. And we said we could do this from people's living rooms for anyone that already had the output system. And we basically got athletes from all over the world, including America and Europe and the UK, all to do a set of 6 tests that showed, say, we had the likes of Adam Byrne and Dave Carney from Leinster Rugby demonstrate their power really well. And then we had some cyclists in France show how flexible and how good their balance was. And it was just a really nice kind of way to kind of embrace the remote training and testing and have these various athletes demonstrating the use of the output system in their home. And so that's just an example, but it's we always kind of employ this mindset of listening to the end users and creating something viable for their issue and trying to solve it. So COVID obviously has absolutely rocked everyone's world, but we just continue to do what we always do, which was listen to the users and try and help them. And that's what we're continuing to do so at the moment as well.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, really, isn't it? You could build something that you want to build, that you like yourself, but it's listening to the customers, the people that the demand for your product or service is going to be there. In your case, it was a product. Actually, I just see on the screen here, Whiz Kids Summer Camps. They're loving your tech and saying, "Cool tech, Martin," and congratulations. So it's been a long road, but you had to sell the product along the way. So being able to sell yourself and your business is a key part of being a successful entrepreneur. And this may be something that our student audience might find difficult. So being young and new to it, the prospect of having to put yourself out there and sell, it can be really daunting. So how did you guys cope with it? And have you any tips for the students that are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. No. So this one really resonates with me. Like when I think back to, say, the first times I ever had to stand in front of a crowd and say anything, I remember, for instance, being in transition year, having to do a reading in assembly and scratch my nose and barely being able to get the words out because I was just so nervous. Because it's a really unusual thing to do when you haven't done it before. So over the years, as a team, we've really practiced it and we've really learned how to better and better pitch yourself and to share the story that you want to tell people about the problem that you're solving and your unique solution to it. So for me, the first thing is, you said the phrase "sell yourself," and just to never forget that you are selling yourself, your authentic self. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else that you're not. You can just tell your true story as to why you're interested in the problem that you've identified and why you think you have a unique solution to it that could really improve the lives of other people. And I think that's the most important thing, just to not think of it as something that is like putting on a show or anything like that, but rather just becoming comfortable and telling your own story. And that was really important. The other thing that really was important for me is just doing it. Like if I saw an opportunity to enter a competition or to do a talk at a conference as I got a little bit older, or to volunteer at school to be the person that does a talk or a presentation. Just take that opportunity, because every time you do it, you'll get feedback and everyone will support you in getting better and better. And what's weird or really nice is you actually start to get a bit of a buzz from it. So I went from absolutely hating it to still get nervous every single time I have to stand in front of people and talk. But you start to kind of embrace that nerves and start to enjoy it. And by all means, I'm still trying to learn and improve. But you do just get better through practicing, taking feedback, and continuing to do that. And our other team members are all the same. We've all thrown ourselves into communicating as often as we can with potential partners or investors or customers for the company. And we started early. That was the other thing. Always start early and just practice and practice.
And I picked up on something there where you said it's more skill than natural talent. Anybody can learn it. So what would be your top 3 tips that you would give our budding teen entrepreneurs who are listening tonight? And then maybe on the other side, things to watch out for, top 3 pitfalls to avoid. So 3 tips and 3 pitfalls.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, the first one you've kind of almost said on my behalf. My first one is just have a willingness to learn. And what I mean by that is like have a willingness to learn a little bit beyond the norm. So if you're going to create a new solution to a problem that you've identified, you're going to have to create something that's a little bit extra special. So go that extra mile to learn the set of skills you need to solve that. Go beyond just your school books and and actually start working on projects or get involved exactly in things like this competition, and just always be open to learning new skills, and don't put yourself into a box that I only do the maths part of this, or I only do the business part of this. You can learn so many skills. The other side then, and I think we touched on it, was surround yourself with great people. So that's the team you actually go after the project and the problem with, but also the mentors that you choose to learn from, who have walked the walk a little bit more than ourselves, and that you can learn from. So founders and mentors and great ones are really game changing in accelerating what you do. And then the final one, particularly in the COVID era, and even just through any kind of project or passion that you have, is just be persistent. And I say be persistent as long as you love what you're doing. If you're being persistent and it's not enjoyable and you don't want to go after it, then no. But if you love what you're doing, don't give up on it, because for me, even to get as far as product launch, it was really an 8-year journey, and I sometimes feel like it's only beginning, really. And I've loved every moment of it, despite all the challenges. So I think that's probably my third one is persistency and consistency as well.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Thank you. And I just noticed immediately, really simple question, and there's no such thing as a silly question. What is an enterprise? And I suppose you could set things up as a hobby, but it becomes an enterprise when it turns into a business and it starts to make money. And that's always a difficult thing to do. Do you remember when you start to bring the money in the first time?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd have a pretty short memory if I didn't. It was only this year in terms of this venture. Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. Like the fact that you've gone from kind of listening to people and then developing something, putting it in their hands and taking feedback, and then ultimately exchanging money for it it's just an incredible feeling. It kind of really validates everything that you've worked towards. But I think like it comes secondary to actually wanting to solve the problem in the first place and actually create a viable solution. For us, we're always kind of end user listening and tech development first, and then the finance and the money to follow, which it does naturally when it's an authentic solution. So, but that's not to take away from the amazing feeling of creating something that people actually want to buy.
No, that's super. I'm going to bring in Caroline McHale now to join in the conversation. So Caroline's a former business studies teacher with many years experience of running the student enterprise programs in school. And she's always worked with departments of education and has written a number of business study books that many of our students will be familiar with. Caroline, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Noel. Delighted to be here this evening.
So you've heard the chat there between myself and Martin. Do you have any thoughts yourself or anything to add on what Martin has said but what makes or what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and in particular in relation to being a student entrepreneur?
Well, actually, I think, Martin, it's really the recipe for success, what you've said tonight. And I think every teacher in the country will be using this video to showcase in the school, because you talked about everything from the research, the planning, the listening to the consumers, being passionate about something and the difference that can make. So really, you mentioned all the skills, all the qualities that are required. And I think you'll be a fantastic showcase for schools in the morning. I think they'll be all tuning in to listen to Martin.
That's brilliant. So, Martin, you can relax now. I'm going to bring you back for a couple of questions there later on, but I'm going to talk to Caroline. Caroline, from your years of experience of working with students and running many companies, what are the biggest mistakes that students make when they set out on their entrepreneurial journey?
I think the biggest mistake the students make is that they rush into coming up with a product or service rather than taking their time. They kind of think they have to have this product there, whereas there would be better profiling entrepreneurs, learning about it, looking at it, then doing lots of research and then coming up with their ideas. And for me, that was the biggest mistake I found with students. They had jumped into a product, then they weren't too happy about it or a service, and then they weren't going to change at that stage.
Yeah,
another big thing is, yeah, sorry, Noel.
No, go on, go ahead. I was going to say failure is part of it. It's important to fail fast, isn't it?
Absolutely. And to learn from failures, and also not to be afraid to ask for help. Everyone you meet, tell them you're interested in entrepreneurship or an enterprise, and learn as much as you can from everybody. And that's what Martin said. It's all a learning process right through all the time.
Yeah. And when you think back to the years of the program, what were the real success stories that come to mind of students taking part in the student enterprise program who have gone on afterwards to continue their dream of being an entrepreneur? Can you think of any?
Oh, I can think of lots of students, but what was interesting, and I'll just even take my own students, which was going back probably years ago, is some of them went into social entrepreneurship after being really into the money in transition year and making all that money. They then looked at and said, "Oh no, I'd like to get into another particular area," And I think they're all quite successful, and we'll often find the students that come up with maybe the best idea mightn't necessarily continue on to be enterprising. Whereas I had students who might have been doing something like wood turning, but now they're on their own business doing personalized parts for cars. Or my neighbor next door, her daughter does this weighted blankets that help you sleep. Or I was on to a neighbor today and her daughter runs these restaurants. So it's interesting to see how they change and how they progress and that anything is achievable. And just having that passion and change, because everything keeps changing. We've seen that with the COVID. We have to be resilient and we have to keep up to date. And nothing is ever done the same. It's always done a little bit differently.
Yeah, and unless we change, we go stale, and we know
True.
loads of companies that haven't changed or pivoted, and it's going to be an interesting time. Which brings us on to the website. So I've mentioned it a couple of times, studententerprise.ie, and it is a treasure trove of resources. But you actually have written a toolkit and a whole suite of resources. So I might actually put those up on the screen for you, and we might go through them if that's okay.
Okay,
So
no, yeah.
let me see if I can dig them out here for you. Yeah, here we go. So the Enterprise Toolkit, you might talk us through this.
Okay, so we decided we can offer lots of things to students and teachers, but we thought this year that we'd offer an enterprise toolkit that we would actually link to the curriculums. And we found for the last few years that sometimes in the junior and intermediate, the students did it in their own time. So we kind of thought if it could be linked into the business studies curriculum, that they could actually do it as part of their class and also part of this competition. Because I think it's really important that students have an opportunity to run an enterprise in a very safe environment. And this will give them the motivation to perhaps think about entrepreneurship at some stage in the future. So if you go on, in the toolkit, we have a junior one then specializing and linking with the junior cycle business studies. And we're delighted that we will be linking with the JC business team as well. And then a senior one that links with the senior business suite of subjects. Okay. Now in the toolkit, we have an eclectic mix. We have a teacher support book. We have a learning log, a compressed learning log for actual students, giving them ideas, what to do, what to look at, etc. We've lots of templates and they're editable as well, which is really important. And for the junior cycle one, we have all the keywords, getting students to write their definitions down, whether it's online or in their copy. We have PowerPoints, we have mind maps, we have methodologies that can help, like interviewing or profiling an entrepreneur and linking it with the key skills. And I know Martin talked about earlier on the importance of communications, the importance of literacy, the importance of being creative, etc. And then all these resources that are on our website, the live chat, and these webinars will be a huge support to both teachers and students at both junior and senior cycle. We've kept it very simple. We limited it down to 10 achievable units, commencing with enterprise. Then how do you come up with ideas? The importance of teamwork and communications, doing your research, which is really an integral and important element, intellectual property, the importance of being aware, production, if you're going to produce, how you would plan, etc. Doing your marketing mix, how you're going to have the right product at the right price, in the right place, with the right promotion. And technology and social media can offer you so much and so much available. And also the costing. Sometimes this can be a weaker element for students. So we have Excel resources and doing the importance of costing your product properly and allowing for labor, etc. And then finally, how do you present this for the competition? At junior cycle, it's a plan. At senior cycle, is report. So we have all those templates in there for them.
That's super. It's super. And you've got a couple of skills and qualities that
Yeah,
is a little tick box, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just kind of shown you what we actually have. If you go through it, there's skills, and then we talk about the skills and qualities, and do you have those skills? And if you continue on to the next slide, we have definitions in, and then looking at it again and checking and see, do you have any of those qualities or characteristics? And working on those, I suppose. And this is where entrepreneurship gives you this opportunity to work on those.
That's super. And I think this is something that Martin was talking about. You know, entrepreneurs are born but not made, but it is a skill that you can learn. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So this would be a good thing in the classroom. Do you agree strongly or strongly disagree? Are entrepreneurs born or not made? Maybe call Martin back in to see, does he believe in that they're actually born and not made, Martin?
No, they can definitely be made. I think you just have to have the passion and pursue it. So I'd be on the blue box there, I'm sure.
You'd be on the blue box. And I think I'd join you there on the blue box. Noel, would you be on the blue or the...
I would be so far to the right of the blue. Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay,
wouldn't fit in the box. I would, yeah.
And you could have a lot of fun with that. And then ask students again, after they participate, do they agree or disagree with this as such?
Yeah, we can do that. And I might actually remind people that you can ask your questions up. So great insights from yourself, Caroline. Any questions about the student enterprise, ask them here. We're here just for another couple of minutes. And now's the time to ask them if you want them answered live. So moving on this one, Caroline.
And so I suppose the way that it's actually written is we've lots of definitions, because the new junior cycle, it's for students knowing a little bit about everything, getting to terms with the terminology, because these are 12 to 15-year-olds, etc. And then, you know, we encourage them to, you know, research a famous entrepreneur, and we have Martin O'Reilly in there, so there'll be a lot of researching on Martin O'Reilly tomorrow. And your parents, friends, etc. We have templates. If you're going to profile an entrepreneur, what kind of questions should you be asking them, and documenting those and learning from that, and then applying this to your enterprise, thinking, okay, I profiled Martin. I wonder what would Martin think of my product or my service.
Okay. And then there's a couple of other things there: reflect, recall, and review.
Reflecting skills. I think you learn a lot from reflection. You know, how did I find that today? Did I like communicating? Did I find it challenging? What do I need to work on, etc.? So reflection is very important and would be an integral part for both the senior and the junior cycle.
Yeah, super. So tweeting. We want to let people know.
So we're getting to tweet. I love tweeting at McHale Caroline. I'm always tweeting, and at Student Enterprise Program as well. So I think watch out for the tweets and get the students tweeting. And it's amazing the contacts and everything that you can make from that. So with those kind of little tasks in there to embrace technology as well as entrepreneurship.
So I do have one question in, and it is from Bronwyn April. Where do you find the toolkit on the website?
It's actually under resources, but next week we're going to have a special page for the junior cycle and a special page for the senior cycle. But at the moment, you go into resources and you click on resources, and they're available there.
Lovely, that's great. We've had one where couldn't play the introduction video. The school says it's on the YouTube site itself, which it is, because I think I saw it there myself.
Okay.
Couldn't play the video from last year's final. So I tried a different machine. I just checked that, because I was looking through those myself. So yeah, had a winner and wanted to play Kieran's interview. Any idea? So while we're I'll have a quick look at the site now and just make sure that it's working. So we'll check that, but we'll come back and answer that one. Martin, we have a question for you from Colin. Great story, well done. Did you encounter any naysayers, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think as Karen touched on, there's a lot of challenges you overcome in the journal, and one of them is people that kind of are naysayers or think you can't do something different to what's already out there. And I guess the way that you overcome that is just by continuously validating that you can. So by creating the prototype solution, putting it in the hands of end users, and taking their feedback that perhaps validates your ideas, that there's a real opportunity there. But just continuously doing that, creating little tests and validating that you have something unique is something that we continue to do and will continue to do. But ultimately, that gives you the encouragement and the passion to keep going forward and keep pursuing the goal.
No, that's super. So while we were doing that, I just got the website up very quickly and just went on to YouTube. So if you go and look for Student Enterprise on YouTube, you'll find the channel. And if you go into videos, all the channels are there, all the videos in the past. Our live video will be recorded and put up there as well. So most of them are there. And then if we go to the website itself, as you said there, Caroline, it's going to be underneath resources, most of the toolkit. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super. That's brilliant. So let me just check and see, have we got any other more questions bouncing back. Eleanor has asked, will this video be saved? I missed the start. Yes, it will, Eleanor. So what happens is it goes out live, and then that recording is automatically available for streaming straight afterwards, both on YouTube and both on Facebook. So well done, and thank you for the questions. So for student resources, head to studententerprise.ie resources and student resources, and you'll find them there. So it's brilliant. And you can replay the video anytime on our feed, as it will join our Facebook feed library. Right. So the guys, the admins at the back, are working hard on that one. So are we getting loads of thank yous? And Martin, you actually have a few female fans. There's a few comments that I can't put up on the screen because they're saying you're lovely. They're saying you're lovely. It's great. Now I have something really exciting to do just before we finish off. Ladies and gents, during the week and preceding this, there was a competition being run, and there was 3 questions. I know, Caroline, you are the answer to one of the questions, actually. You know, who is the expert that will feature in each of the webinars, and that was Caroline. And there was another question about the website, and you'll find all the information on the website. But there was a draw to take place for a set of Bluetooth headphones. So let's find out the winner right now. So Tara Brennan, congratulations, Tara Brennan. You are the winner of the Bluetooth headset, and congratulations. So delighted that we were able to do that live this evening. And that just about wraps up our very first live broadcast of the year. A huge thank you to our guests, Martin O'Reilly from Output Sports and Carolyn McHale for joining us tonight. Just remind you, the playback will be available on the on both the channels, the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. Our next live broadcast is in October, and I think it is the date escapes me here in the minute. I have an old date in front of me, but I'll come back to it in 2 seconds and just check. But in the meantime, if you have any queries, you can contact your local student enterprise coordinator, contact our national coordinator via email through our website, or live chat with us on our website. Keep safe, keep innovating, and we're going to look forward to seeing where you go with your ideas and with the whole student enterprise program. So we'll see you again. I am just going to check the date here just before we leave. I got to go live into it here very quickly. I'll bounce through. So one of the guys might just pop it in onto the chat there. I just want to make sure before I give out the wrong information. Apologies. Monday, October 5th. I've got it. So the next one is Monday, October 5th. And my friend and colleague, Greg Fry, should be with you hopefully on that night. I'm just standing in for him tonight. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Martin. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We'll see you again soon.
3, 2, 1, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4.